Thank you. I'm going to just be honest.
Please.
My ideology, the way I think, is much, much different than yours.
Okay, tell me how.
Well, a couple of things, and I have 2 questions at the end. I'll try to keep it brief, but
when anybody says I'll try to keep it brief, I immediately doubt it, but go ahead.
Okay. You have people that normally say that.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with the democracy. Socrates was killed in a democracy. You can get a bunch of people to think the same way and enslave a minority of people. Sure. That's a democracy. We are a representative republic. And so I would, when I'm done, like you to explain the difference, 1, and 2, how a school system, a public school system, fits in that, what you would call a democratic model. And I happen to think that that model is broken. And I think the evidence of it is you can look anywhere in the inner cities, any big cities across the United States, and you can see that that model is broken. 1. 2, sitting here listening to you, and I had preconceived ideas, I'll say, before I, decided to come here. But listening to you speak, I have had sort of a change of mindset, but I do have 2 questions, and they were formed before I, made it here. 1, given your nonviolent temperament now, do you regret the Weather Underground experience, what some people would call terrorist acts? And 2, were you the ghostwriter for Drinks for My Father? I just got to know.
Did you read the New York Times article about me being the ghostwriter for?
I read a couple. I read like Red State.
It's all over it's been all over the right-wing blogs, and if you spend too much time in the fever swamps of the right-wing blogosphere, it can poison you. So be careful. I'm happy for you to go there, but don't spend all your time there because it can really suffocate you.
As opposed to the liberal miasma.
So I know exactly what you mean about that, and I'm not a liberal, so you'll be happy to know that.
And I'm an independent. So.
I got you. But for those of you who don't know, there was a great theory in 2008. I'll tell you a quick version of this.
Okay.
In 2008, when Obama was running for president, there was a great attempt to derail him, first by Hillary Clinton and then by McCain and Palin, and they all used the same narrative. The idea was, we don't know anything. This was started with Hillary. We don't know anything about this mystery man from Chicago. He sure is smart. He sure is charismatic. He sure can give a great speech. But what do we really know about him? Let's look at his friends. And his friends are Jeremiah Wright, Rashid Khalidi, and me. Rashid Khalidi is a Palestinian scholar, but you know who Jeremiah Wright is. So he's got a friend who's a fiery black nationalist preacher. He's got a friend who's a Palestinian scholar, Palestine, and he has an Arab name. Already I'm terrified. And then he's got me, who has a sketchy, to say the least, past. So while we don't know really anything about him, look at his friends. And the problem with that, the weakness of that, and really the tragedy of that isn't just the creation of a demon out of somebody as brilliant and wonderful as Jeremiah Wright has been as a fixture of the south side of Chicago. That's not the main tragedy. The main tragedy is to accept the idea of guilt by association. So instead of saying, I can judge Obama as Obama, we say, look at his friends. This is horrible. And all the attempts to prove every secret meeting and every weird affiliation. So there's a lot of stuff written about the fact that my kids' names are Malik and Zaid and Chazen. Their kids' names are Malia and Sasha. There's a link there somewhere. We probably worship at the same, Muslim underground cell. In other words, I'm just saying that the weakness is trying to make the link and say, because I'm a bad guy, which I don't agree with, but if you wanted to accept that I'm a bad guy, or that Jeremiah's a bad guy, or that Rashid's a bad guy, and I will defend all 3 of those people, but let's just assume that they're bad guys. What does that have to do with Obama running for president? In other words, in a wildly diverse, crazy country and a society like ours, I think Obama should talk to you. I think he should talk to me and you and you and you and you. and then I think he should have a mind of his own. So why the attention to the fact that he might have, well, he did, in fact, sit in a boardroom with me, and we shared a podium a couple of times, and blah, 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 and we knew each other around the neighborhood. So what? He does, as he said, I don't share his politics. I don't ask his advice. I wish he would ask my advice, because I would give it to him, and I would say, no more drones, and shit like that. But the point is, why the guilt by association? And so the two craziest things coming out of the right, there's a picture of me and my wife when we were in our early 20s, and we're now I'm in my late 60s, she's in her early 70s, and the picture says, Bill Ayers with Ann Dunham, and Barack's mother's name is Ann Dunham, and Bernadine and Ann Dunham do look somewhat alike, and Bernadine is 71 now, and Ann Dunham, if she were alive, would be 71 now. Oh. So it says, who's the real father? Okay, so I'm the African father of Barack. Come on, I mean, it's just silly. It's just ridiculous. So the question, which I'm not going to give, I'm now going to go to your question. Did I write his book? For those of you who don't know, there have been many, many, many books written about many articles written, and one book written about the fact that I wrote Dreams from My Father. And the book that was written does a textual analysis of several of my things, because I've written over 20 books. A textual analysis of my work and Dreams from My Father, and they conclude things like, oh my God, they both use nautical imagery. Oh, nautical, boats and stuff. Wow. So this is the proof that I wrote Dreams from My Father. So here's the thing that keeps the thing alive, although I thought I killed it with this, but this guy who interviewed me from your local TV station asked the same question. And he said, did you write Dreams from My Father? And I said to him, what I first said right after the 2008 election, a right-wing blogger saw me in the Reagan airport and came up to me and said, can I just ask you one question? I said, sure. She asked me this question, and my answer was, will you quote me exactly? And she said, yes. And I said, well, now I want you to write this down. I wrote Dreams from My Father. I wrote every word of it, and if you can help me prove it, I'll split the royalties with you. So I'll say the same thing to you. If you can help me prove that I wrote Dreams from My Father, I'll split the royalties with you. This became a big deal on the internet until Rush Limbaugh got a hold of it, and he said, he's just making fun of us. Don't repeat that. So please, Rush says, don't repeat it. It's ridiculous. And the implication that he couldn't have written that is nuts. He's a smart, skillful, very, very beautiful writer, and he wrote it, apparently.
I am not disputing that he is not a brilliant, brilliant man.
And he wrote the book. He wrote his own books.
All right, well, those are my two.
And then I know the other one, but I want you to say one more thing before you leave, which is, you make a point, as a lot of people do from the right, about, we live in a representative republic, and you went on to say that a democracy can lead to enslaving a minority. A representative republic apparently can do the same thing, because our country was founded with slavery, right, in a representative republic. So the idea that that's somehow a carryover of whatever you're thinking of as democracy and not a feature of a representative republic is just false. It's not true.
Our country's founding was a shaky republic. Franklin said, I think we gave you a republic. You pretty much have to try to keep it. I don't believe it was a republic. I believe it had much more democratic connotations at our foundings than we like to realize.
And so you, for example, think that the Electoral College is just a good thing.
It has its drawbacks.
It
has its drawbacks.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
whenever the U.S. says they're gonna bring democracy to another country, I always say, great, take the Electoral College and give it to them.
Yeah, but what do you do about the big states versus the small populations?
Well, exactly.
You don't have.
So you don't really believe in one person, one vote, and that's maybe where you and I need to have a longer conversation.
I do not believe.
Yeah, I believe in one person, one vote. I think we are the sovereign. Everyone in here is equal. We ought to all have an equal say, and we ought to have protections for the minority of all kinds. That's true.
Individual rights.
Because the tyranny of the majority can be a very difficult thing. But the idea that we should not have one person, one vote, to me, is really a knife in the heart of the very idea of what it means to live in a free society. How is she free if her vote doesn't count as much as mine?
How am I free if 5 people think that I have $20 and they're entitled to 10 of it?
When did that happen? What are you referring to?
What I'm saying is,
I don't think,
and the
do you guys
one-
want his money? What's wrong? I mean, what's going on? Yeah. What you mean is you don't want to pay taxes.
no, well, I'm not gonna answer that on the
Whoa, whoa,
record.
whoa, 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 wait, because it's to the heart of the matter.